Welcome to this episode of our program Arab Affairs. As usual, we will be discussing in Arab 5 tonight, or rather today, we'll be speaking about the escalation in the Palestinian occupied territories. Israeli occupation continued its aggression on the Palestinian occupied territories, the fifth day in a row. The number of murders has reached so far 33 Palestinians, in addition to 47 injuries. The Israeli military has already launched strikes against the leadership centers of a jihad movement in operation carried out before Saturday's dawn, while the Palestinian resistance group launched rockets that led to hearing sirens in border areas with the Gaza Strip. The Arab League has called for an urgent meeting to discuss the escalating situation. Egypt has already condemned the Israeli escalation in the occupied Palestinian territories, and a statement from the Foreign Ministry stressed that its total refusal of such attacks that are contrary with the international law and legislations and worsen the situation to a level that could be out of control in the occupied territories, and limit the efforts for combination and decreasing tensions and any chances for any returns for peace negotiations. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry was already in Munich summit in Berlin, where he addressed this particular issue, saying that a two-state solution is a must, that the situation is very much aggravated, that there should be an international responsibility, or assuming the responsibility towards the issue, for pushing further the situation into norms. The foreign minister also said that or rather stressed the necessity of halting the Israeli occupation forces' violence against the Palestinians, and reiterated Egypt's condemnation to the continued Israeli occupation aggression being a dangerous escalation in the region, and called on the international community to show this serious will. The foreign minister also pointed out to Egypt's efforts for a ceasefire, and he spoke about the mediation and meddling and proposals that were submitted by Egypt for both the Israeli and the Palestinian sides. We'll be speaking about that in our episode, but before we delve into our discussion, let's first have a quick look on the Arab news that took place during this week, and we'll come back for more discussion.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received on Tuesday General Tut Kuglag, the security advisor to South Sudan's president. The meeting was attended by the General Intelligence Chief, Abbas Kamel. During the meeting, the South Sudanese security advisor handed President el-Sisi a message from President Salva Kiir. The meeting tackled means of boosting bilateral ties and the latest developments in Sudan. It also centered on ongoing efforts to settle the crisis and security of the Sudanese people, as well as humanitarian and political challenges to the country. Both sides stressed the significance of urging Sudanese sides to keep the truce and moving to a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire. They reiterated that the permanent ceasefire would allow humanitarian aid into the country and open the path for a constructive dialogue to settle the crisis and continue with the transitional path and the political process to keep the unity of Sudan. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry visited Juba to convey a message from President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to South Sudan's President Salva Kiir on the situation in Sudan. This came after wrapping up his visit to Chad's capital. During his visit to Chad, the top diplomat delivered a message from President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to the Chadian President Mohamed Idris Deby. During his meeting with Deby, Shoukry reviewed Egypt's efforts since the start of the Sudanese crisis. He pointed that Egypt had received more than 60,000 of Sudanese fleeing from military confrontation. The two sides agreed on the necessity of continuing joint coordination in order to solve the crisis and keep the unity and safety of Sudan. Egypt welcomed the Sudanese Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces signing the Jeddah Declaration as an important step which contributes to protecting Sudanese civilians and facilitates access to humanitarian aid and preserving public installations. The Foreign Ministry said in a statement it's looking forward to parties' adherence to the agreement and expressed hope that such steps would pave the way for the warring parties, with the help of regional and international mediators and partners, to reach a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire and to resume talks. Egypt also hailed the efforts exerted by Saudi Arabia and the United States to push the Sudanese parties to engage in talks. Egypt condemned the Israeli escalation in the occupied Palestinian territories. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry stressed its total refusal of such attacks that are contrary to the international law and legislation and worsen the situation to a level that could be out of control in occupied Palestinian territories, as well as limit the efforts of calm and decrease tensions. Meanwhile, Israel's military launched further strikes on Gaza Friday after fighters fired rockets from the territory on the fourth day of fighting, which has killed dozens of Palestinians. The worst cross-border escalation in months has seen Egypt lead truce efforts, with hopes raised that a ceasefire may be imminent after talks failed earlier this week. According to Gaza's health ministry, at least 131 Palestinians have been killed, including 5 top fighters and multiple civilians as well as children. The Arab League held a meeting for the permanent delegates to discuss the escalating situation in the Palestinian cities. The meeting, tackling the Israeli attacks over the occupied territories, took place upon a request from Egypt, Palestine and Jordan. Egypt's permanent delegate to the Pan-Arab body called for ending Israeli violations and continuous aggression over Palestinian occupied territories and civilians. For his part, the Palestinian permanent representative at the Arab League said the emergency meeting focused on facing the continuous Israeli violence, on providing an international protection for the Palestinian people. The Syrian presidency said that Syria's President Bashar al-Assad received an invitation from Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz to attend next week's Arab Summit in Saudi Arabia, the first such invitation since the country's war began. The Pan-Arab body had suspended Damascus in November 2011. On Sunday, the Arab League welcomed back Syria's government, securing Assad's return to the Arab fold after years of isolation. In a statement, Syrian presidency cited Assad as saying the summit will enhance joint Arab action to achieve the aspirations of the Arab peoples.